Federal officials are hailing the arrest of two top leaders of the notorious Mexican Sinaloa drug cartel. Ismael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of infamous drug lord El Chapo. They are both now behind bars here in the U.S. after they were taken into custody in El Paso, Texas. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the Sinaloa cartel is one of the most violent and powerful drug cartels in the world, responsible for shipping thousands of pounds of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl into the U.S. every day. El Mayo appeared in federal court today in El Paso, pleaded not guilty. We want to bring in three people now. ABC News Senior Justice and Homeland Security reporter Jack Date, along with ABC's Maria Elena Salinas and former Assistant Department of Homeland Security Secretary Elizabeth Newman. Thank you all for being here. Jack, give us the big picture here. This was something that a security official says has been in the works for months. So walk us through the details of how this all went down.
Well, it appears to be an extraordinary ruse. It looks like FBI and HSI agents, that's the Department of Homeland Security's Homeland Security Investigations, worked it out so that they would fly into an airport in Texas. The two cartel leaders, one of them believed that they were going to be inspecting a clandestine runway in North Mexico. It ended up landing in Texas, however, and when they got off the plane, they walked into the arms of waiting FBI and HSI agents that took them into custody. It's really quite extraordinary for them to have flown into the United States, walking into that situation, both taken into custody.
Maria, this is a notoriously brutal cartel, and you have a situation here where it seems El Mayo was deceived by someone that he trusted. How might those who are still inside the cartel respond to this?
Well, Trevor, if in fact it is confirmed that Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo, is the one who deceived him, there could be backlash against the family. These are families that work together. For both El Chapo and Mayo Zambada, it's a family business where their siblings and their offsprings are involved. And this could lead to a bloodbath. The Sinaloa cartel is a very organized operation. They have a line of succession. So whether it's an internal battle for control of the cartel or a retaliation under suspicion that he was duped by the Chapitos, we can expect violence. And another interesting thing to note is that it was reported that Ovidio Guzman, Chapo's other son, who has been incarcerated in the U.S. since he was extradited from Mexico early last year, he was released from prison. It was reported that he was released, but the Mexican government denied it. They claimed that the U.S. authorities said that they just made changes to his custody, implying that for his own safety, he was moved somewhere else. And that move came before his brother and Mayo Zambada were detained yesterday. So that's interesting.
Very interesting. Elizabeth, we learned that this happened without even Mexican officials aware that this was going to happen here. What do you make of the FBI deciding that they wanted to make these arrests on U.S. soil rather than extraditing these individuals from Mexico?
I mean, it actually makes a ton of sense. This would have been a huge victory for FBI and HSI. They've been tirelessly working to go after Sinaloa. They are the cause of over hundreds of thousands of Americans have died from fentanyl overdose that is directly tied to Sinaloa. Sinaloa is responsible for kind of creating the whole industry of synthetic fentanyl and moving it into the drug system. So people often are taking fentanyl when they think they're taking heroin or some other type of drug. And so this is a massive, very violent, very destructive organization. And it's a huge win to be able to arrest these two. And my guess is that, look, in the Mexican government, it's hard to know who to trust. So it wouldn't be a safe operation to try to get the Mexican government to arrest and then extradite. It's just much more secure to find a way to get them onto U.S. soil. And that appears to be what they've done quite successfully. I imagine there are a lot of happy people at DOJ today.
Jack, one of these men, El Mayo, has already made his initial appearance in El Paso federal court. He pleaded not guilty. Where do we go from here?
Well, these men both have indictments they're facing in multiple districts in the United States. The Justice Department has a lot of cards in its hand, and they can sort of play it a number of ways. They can do successive trials in each district, or they can work with their best case first. And depending on what the sentencing is, if they're successful in getting a conviction there, that might be enough. And they'll be able to make some judgments about how they use their resources going forward. But certainly, they hold a lot of cards at this point, and a lot of serious charges faced by both men who could be looking at the rest of their lives in prison.
Maria, earlier today, as we've been covering this, ABC contributor and former federal prosecutor John Katko described these arrests to me as a decapitation of cartel leadership. Very strong words, and then he talked a lot about a power struggle. Do you see these arrests weakening the grip that the cartel has on the U.S. and its drug trade here?
I mean, I don't know if it's a total decapitation, really. I don't believe we'll see much change in the immediate because they are so well organized. They have people leading different divisions of the operation. For example, Mayo Zambada was mostly in charge of money laundering and government contacts. His own son, during El Chapo's trial in New York, he testified there, and he said that his father handed out about $1 million a month in bribes. And it's also been reported that Zambada had been in contact with the DA for a couple of years, possibly looking to negotiate a future deal where he would turn himself in, and they surely made a plan of succession then also. But, you know, with so many of the leaders already in custody or dead, it's possible that less experienced new leaders might weaken the organization, those people that might not have as much experience as they do. Zambada's been in this business for four decades. You know, but even if that happens, there are other cartels in Mexico that are in line and ready to steal their business away.
Maria Elena Salinas, Jack Date, and Elizabeth Newman. Big arrest today. Certainly not the end of the story. We appreciate all three of you stopping by to talk with us.